A warm welcome to your Barbados Today Evening News Update for Friday, May 14. Labour Minister Colin Jordan says government has not abandoned former hotel workers who are still to receive their severance pay. This week, ex-employees of Accra Beach Resort and the Hilton Barbados staged protests in a bid to receive their outstanding monies. Jordan says with reports that hotels cannot afford to make the payments, the National Insurance Scheme is likely to step in.
Now that we know that the payment that was promised at a particular time hasn't been made, then it is incumbent on the National Insurance Department to follow up with the employer. And if the employer is unable to pay, then the National Insurance Department will make that consideration in its own jurisdiction, within its ambit, and make any payments that the law allows it to make. And then the National Insurance Department will go after and make the enforcement on the employer.
Jordan, who made it clear that the employer is first responsible for paying severance, told reporters that government this week passed a measure to ensure workers receive their monies in a timely manner.
On Tuesday, we passed a small bill which allows for an order to be made to give some additional teeth to the expedited process. Some of the action has been taken already. That is to say, there's been some decisions already made, some adjudication, and some persons have received payment. But in the bill that we passed on Tuesday in Parliament, we made provision for a separate expedited process while also validating those decisions that have already been made. We just wanted to cover all the bases to make sure that all the actions taken by the National Insurance Scheme were valid.
Little Island, Big Barbados. That's the new brand unveiled by the island's tourism authorities at today's virtual launch. Tourism Minister Lisa CUMMINS declared that Barbados is open for business and safety is a top priority.
So this destination relaunch is what we're focusing on here today. Getting brand Barbados back out there is what we're focusing on today. Helping our people to inspire pride in who we are and to share that pride with global audiences. We have to encourage people who haven't traveled in 18 months to choose Barbados over some other destinations that perhaps are so encouraged by the fact that there are vaccinations taking place globally that they're removing nearly all public health screening and testing requirements for entry into their country. That is not Barbados's way. Safe Barbados is what we're prioritizing and what we're offering to our partners. We're offering new life into the arteries of Barbados for visitors and for our locals.
Today's launch comes on the heels of news that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has moved Barbados one notch down from its Level 4 warning for travel to Level 3. The Tourism Minister says it's good news.
Certainly, yesterday's advice from the CDC out of the United States that Barbados has moved from Level 4 to Level 3 is a positive signal. And it is a nod to the confidence from the United States, one of our major source markets, that we depend on each other in more ways than ever.
Prime Minister Mottley today stoutly defended her administration's handling of contracts in response to some public criticism that one construction firm is receiving all of government's major contracts. Speaking at today's reopening of the St. Andrew Outpatient Clinic, she made it clear that her administration acted urgently in the interest of Barbadians and will continue to do so.
I want to address this issue that seems to be bedeviling some people as to what is legitimate procurement and what is not. Because the framers of our laws recognize that there will be times in the affairs of a nation when emergency procurement and specialized procurement are critical. Now, if the loss of $2 billion and the absence of economic activity and the absence of sufficient publicly owned enterprises as opposed to privately owned companies is in the condition that we know it is, then the only entity that can bring relief to the people of this nation is the government of Barbados, is the government. And I could transpose that to Bahamas, to Antigua, to St. Kitts, to Maldives, to Aruba, to the United States of America. What is Mr. Biden's stimulus package? Support to individuals and infrastructure and greening. And why? Because if we don't do it now, who will fall through the cracks?
The MP for Christchurch West Central tells constituents engaging in illegal activity to stop it. ADRIAN FORDE says he won't be tolerating any lawless behavior. His comments come on the heels of at least 3 recent shootings in the areas of Gall Hill and Sergeant's Village, and on Wednesday night, police arrested a man with an AK-47 rifle.
So I'm appealing to all those in my constituency to put down those guns and put them down fast, because I am giving the law enforcement authority my unequivocal, unreserved support as they try to shackle this gun violence. It's a no-tolerance approach from me. It is my constituency, is one that I love there. But at the same time, as their record representative, I want to say to these young men or women, if they are wrong, they're wrong. I am not going to try to split hairs here. There are other avenues, there are alternatives, and we are saying take the opportunities that government has provided for you.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news, in Antigua and Barbuda, people who are not vaccinated are unlikely to be considered for employment at some hotels. Word of this from the executive chairman of the Antigua and Barbuda Hotels and Tourism Associations. We get the details from ABS Television.
COVID-19 has inflicted the harshest blow to the travel and tourism industry, and the economies of countries like Antigua Barbuda, who rely heavily on that industry, have dwindled significantly. Early Thursday, the hotel occupancy rates for May and projected rates for November and December this year were revealed by ABHTA Executive Chairman Vernon Jeffers Sr.
Presently, May is shaping up to end up with an occupancy in the region of about 29% occupancy, and June just a slight uptick. And then when we look forward to November to December, there is expected to be an increase in occupancy upwards to about 48%.
Jeffers says industry employees' inoculation against COVID-19 will be paramount going forward.
It's really incumbent upon us to continue to put the things in place and do the sort of things that is in fact needed to ensure that we are ready when markets really reopen. And of course, at the very top of that list is ensuring that we have a high percentage of our population inoculated.
To protect current staff and potential visitors, the ABHTA Executive Chairman says some association members have taken the decision no new staff will be considered for employment unless they have been vaccinated against COVID-19.
I can assure you, persons who have not been vaccinated and they're looking to come into the industry to work, and they're thinking of applying to hotels and so on. Having not been inoculated, they're wasting their time because they will not be employed within the industry.
More than 55% of the sector's current employees have already received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
On the international front, Palestinians fled Gaza City in droves on Friday as Israel continued intense bombardment of the Palestinian territories in the worst outbreak of violence since 2014.
A threat of ground intervention from Tel Aviv as it mobilizes thousands of reservists to reinforce the border with Gaza. Meanwhile, Israel and Hamas continue to exchange fire as calls for a ceasefire go nowhere. And civilians are paying the price. Authorities in Gaza say that more than 100 Palestinians have been killed, including 28 children. Some 600 people have been wounded. 7 people have died in Israel, including a 6-year-old boy. Israel is also seeing a wave of mob violence, where both Arabs and Jews have been savagely beaten and police stations attacked. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the country is fighting a campaign on 2 fronts.
The first front, Gaza. I said they would demand a very heavy price from Hamas and the other terrorist organizations. We are doing so, and we will continue to do so with great force. The second front, Israel cities. We give 100% backing to the police, the soldiers of the border police, and the other security forces in order to restore law and order to Israel cities. We will not tolerate anarchy.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken called on Hamas to cease its rocket attacks immediately, but he said Washington is deeply concerned with the loss of life among civilians, particularly children.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.